So guys, welcome back to the project. The first thing we're going to do is to create the nav bar. In fact, we are going to be taking it step by step. After the nav bar, we now create this section. Then after this section, we create this section and this section. Then we deploy it to Git. Please follow along. If you have challenges, you pause, but ensure you complete this and deploy to your GitHub account. So you all know how VS Studio Code works. When you hit the exclamation, when you type the exclamation, it gives you a boilerplate of the basic things you're supposed to type. So I'll be fast with this. My website, I'll save that, and I have to open up the live server. So the first thing we're going to do is to create this nav bar. So for that, I'm going to use the nav tag, and I'm going to give it a class of nav. Now look at what I did. I did nav.nav, which will give it a class of nav. I understand that you guys have done this, and I'm going to create a div with a class of container, and I'm going to explain why we're doing all this. And I'm going to create an h1 tag with a class of logo, and I'm going to call it my website, and I'll save it. And when I go back here, see I have my website here. So the next thing I'm going to do is to include an anchor tag to my h1 so it will be clickable. See, it's not clickable, so I have to do a. Let's do it this way. We do a href equals, we have this, and we close it. Then we are going to be redirecting it back to our website, so when we click it, it doesn't go anywhere, it stays on our web page. That should be it. Then we are now going to move this my website from here. We cut it and we place it inside the the anchor tag. So it takes that, and then we save it. So next thing I'll create is another list. This is actually for my nav bar for these items here, this list items, this menu items. So for that, I will have, what do we have here? We have home, about, services, and contact. So I'll come here, I'll do li because I have 4 of them. I'll say li times 4. So I have 4 li tags, and I want to select all this at once. To do that, you hold your alt key and you click 1, 2, 3. So by so doing, you can write a single code, and it gets affected in these 4 lines. So I'm going to do a because I need the a href as the anchor tag, and I'm going to put index. No, let's just put hash. Let me see, it goes nowhere. So, and I'm going to give the first list item a class of active. This is because I actually want to style it differently. So you see it has a red color, and I'm going to come right here and write home. Okay, and the next one is let's just get it from here. The next one is about, services, and control. So we're going to do that. And contact. You know what? Let's just say contact us. So you see it appeared here. We are going to get rid of all this. So one thing I observed is that some of you don't pay attention to how your codes are styled. Ensure that your codes are clean. If you observed very well, you see that like after the nav tag I created here ended, I gave another space. So when I have issues with my code, I can comfortably navigate through every section and get the job done. So the next on our website is this particular section and the text, and we're going to do that. To achieve this, we are going to create a div with a name called hero, and inside the div I'm going to have another div with a class of container, and we're going to have an h1. We're going to say welcome to HiiT, and we're going to have a p tag, that's a paragraph of lorem, let's say lorem 5, lorem 10, yeah, lorem 10. So I won't be including the image in our HTML. We'll be doing that in the CSS. So let's jump right straight to the next section, which is this section, which wouldn't take so much time. So to do that, I'm going to create the section tag. It's actually HTML5 semantic tag, and I'm going to give it a class of container. And you know what, let's just do it this way so you get along with most of the shortcut. I'm going to say section dot container dot content. So this is actually going to give it two classes, container and content. We hit enter and you see that. So, and it's going to have an h, let's say an h2 tag, and we're going to call it content1, then, and also a paragraph tag. We're going to give it lorem 50 and hit enter, and we're also going to have another, let's say h3 tag. We're going to call it content2, and the p tag, we're going to say lorem 50. And lastly, we're going to work on this section, the footer section, and to do that we have to leave the body and say footer, and we can say give it a class of foot. We may not use this, but let's just see. So say built with love by, you can just put your name here, maybe I'll just say HiiT. So that's it for our HTML, and let's jump right straight into the CSS. But before we do that, let's save this and see how it looks like. See, HTML is sometimes ugly without CSS. So this is how it looks like. So we're going to be styling this and completing the upload with to. So guys, before we actually start writing our CSS code, we're going to initialize Git to actually take a snapshot of our progress thus far. So you just get to this tab here, the terminal tab, and create click it. And so I just typed git init just as we did in class. So when you type git init, you're going to get a feedback initialized empty git repository, and when we check git status to know how far we should expect all this to be in red. This means image, we have image.jpg, the image we are going to be using, and we have index.html. Now we are also going to create two files, no, just one. We're going to create the Style.Css. So, and to do that, we will do the touch command, touch Style.Css. And when we create touch file, when we create the Style.Css, you see we now have it here. So to add the files, to add the index.html, to stage it into the empty repository, I told you what to do. We'll do git. We can just do index.html since we just want to stage the progress we have made there, and we hit we're going to write git add index.html. So, and we're going to say git commit -m, and a quotation mark, we're going to say initial commit, and hit enter. So we got a feedback message, initial commit, one file change, 32 insertions. I will explain all this in the next class. So let's jump right straight into our CSS. So the first thing we're going to do is to actually by default, just as your form instructor taught you, the HTML, when you build a project, the browser actually has a default styling for that, and we're going to get rid of that using this this code. So this asterisk here actually, targets everything. So we're going to say padding. We're going to say padding 0, margin 0, and we're going to say box sizing. So set it to border box, and we're going to save. Observe that when we saved it, nothing happened, and this is because we've not included our style in our style sheet. So link, and we're going to say Style.Css. So for most of you who love commenting, I encourage you to keep doing that. So it helps your code looks cleaner. So we save this, and you see everything, the style just took effect. So the next thing we're going to target is the nav. The nav. Remember that we gave this nav tag, we gave it a class of nav, so we're going to be using .nav, that's container .nav, and we're going to position it fixed. You can choose not to do that, but I just think it's going to make our work look pretty. So we're going to change the background. Sorry about that. Background color. You know what? Let's just type this background color, and we're going to use dark gray. So 3, 3, 3, right? So, and you see how it appears here. So we're going to set top to 0. We're going to say left, that's a 0, and we're going to say right, so 0, and we're going to save that. So that goes through and goes. Yeah. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move to. Sorry about that. We're going to style this container. And the reason why we actually had to house the h1 and this unordered list in this container is so we can do display flex. So let's jump right straight into that. And I will actually encourage you to ensure you keep your code clean, no matter the project you're working on. So we're going to do display flex. So you see just displayed flex, and we're going to justify. We want the two to be apart, so we're going to justify content and say space between. So when we save this, you see how everything now looks. So we're going to say align items. We'll put it in the center. Save that, and we'll actually justify content center. No, we're not going to do justify. Sorry about that. We're going to do align item. We're going to do padding. We're going to do 20 pixels top and bottom, and 0 left and right. So see, we have 20 pixels top and bottom and 0 left and right. So next thing we're going to style is the .nav, the unordered list. We're going to style this unordered list to get rid of all these underlines and the color and all whatnot. So we're going to display the unordered list to flex, and you see what's happened there. We're going to say list to get rid of the list style type, set it to none, and save it. And you see it got rid of the bullet points. So that's what the list type does. So we're going to say align items. We're going to center it, center. Then we're going to say justify content, center. So and save that too. So this, what justify content actually does is it brings it to the center, whatever container those contents are. It brings it to the exact center of that content. So the next thing is to actually target these links. So we're going to do that with .nav. You know why we're using .nav? We had the nav the nav tag actually has a nav class. That's why we're using .nav. So we're targeting the anchor elements in that .nav class, and we're going to say color. I'm going to set the color to white, and we're going to say the text decoration. You know what the text decoration is used for, to get rid of the underlines. So when we click that, you see it got rid of the underlines and gave it a color of white. So we're going to do padding so we can space them a little bit. So we're going to do padding. We're going to say 7 pixels top and bottom, and 15 pixels left and right. So wow, so that works. And you know why this actually took this color? Because it's actually part of the anchor. You know, it actually has the anchor element which is inside the nav class. The nav class, that's, yeah. So what next? Well, so we're supposed to add our image. So but before we do that, we're going to actually target this home that was given a class of active. So we're going to do that by saying a dot active, and we're going to say color. You can give it whatever color, but we're trying to stay fixed with this design. So so we're going to give it the color of red and save that, and it did, okay. Actually what I did was there should be no spacing. It should be a dot active. So when I save it, a dot active, it now took that star. So the next thing, as I just said, is to add the image, and we're going to add it to the div that has the hero class, and we're going to say background. Sorry about the background noise. URL, just as you all know, and we're going to say image. I think I saved mine with img. You should use your favorite image or whatever image. And when I save this, what do I see? Let's check this. It's not working. Where's the problem from? Okay, I said background color. Sorry guys, background image. So we have the image here, but we can't see it. Let's do height. Let's give it a height of 100 viewport height. So it's going to take 100% of the section where it actually stays in, but we're going to actually position it so it looks better. So we're going to say display. We're going to say let's get rid of the repeats. So we're going to say background. I can't spell background again. So background repeat. We're going to say no repeat. We save that, and we're adding all these styles so should, in case your image will want to repeat, this will actually overwrite it. So we're going to say background size, and say cover, and let's save it and see how it looks. So everything is getting better, and we're going to say background position. We're going to say bottom, center, bottom. Okay, it's bottom. I say bottom. Sorry guys. So, and we're gonna now target the content inside there. We're going to say justify content center, and we're going to say, well, let's get that content. Where is it? So we can't find out. Okay, well, let's do display flex. Okay, so let's do align items. Let's bring it to the center. Okay, this is it. So now we can now grab. We can now set the color to white, so you can properly see it. Then we're going to do text align, right? Text align center. Yeah. Then let's give it a padding of 20 pixels. But before we give it a padding of 20 pixels, let's let's bring it to the center, and to bring it to the center, we're going to use justify content. And I told you what justify content does. It brings it to the center of that container. So let's give it a padding. Let's give this hero div, we say padding bottom, let's give it 20 pixels. So what this basically does is downwards, every item beneath takes this padding bottom of 20 pixels. So as you can see, we are progressing. So let's continue. So guys, if you look at this design that we did here, it actually has a dark background. This is because I gave it an overlay. I gave it an overlay because I wanted the hero text and paragraphs to display very well. So we're going to do that here. And to do that, we are going to position this relative, so we can actually work on the other one, positioning it to absolute. So yeah, because this dark background is actually an overlay, so I'm going to position the overlay absolute, and we're going to do that now. So we're going to do it this way. I'm going to say dot hero. So guys, we're going to use this selector, the before selector, and I'm going to leave a link to, so in fact the before selector actually gives you access to work on the item before, let's say before we get to the hero, the items in the hero div. We are going to style the items before, or we can actually create the content before the hero div. We're going to leave this as empty because we don't actually want to add a content before the hero div. We just want to add an overlay. So I'm going to position this absolute, just as I said. I'm going to position this absolute, and that was why I positioned this relative. So, and I'm going to save this, and next I'm going to say top. I'm going to give it some top. I'm going to say top 0, and left 0. I'm going to say width, give like a width of 100%. I can't spell width anymore, sorry guys. So width of 100% and a height of 100%. So 100% of the hero, like before the hero div tag. So this is, and we save it, and you can't see anything now because we've not actually given it something. So we're going to give it a background color of, say, okay, for example, if you click blue, you see it takes up everything, but we're not going to give it blue. So we're going to use the RGBA, RGBA, red, green, blue, and alpha. And alpha is actually the shadow. So say red 0, green 0, blue 0, then alpha, which is the shadow, we're going to say 0. Let's say 0.8. So it's darker, say 0.6. So let's work with this first. Then we're going to do something which I think you should know, z-index. So if you're having difficulties with z-index, I can actually add a link to this video so you could go and read it up. So we're going to set z-index to -1. Z-index is basically how close to you the content is, how close. So we're going to push the overlay back -1. So then we're going to come here and we're going to say z-index, I'm going to say -2. So yeah. So let's compare this with the other one. So we're almost so we're supposed to work on the font size. So you know how we're going to target this. We're going to say dot hero. I'm going to say h1. So I'm going to say font size. Sorry guys, font size. I'm going to set it to 46 pixels. So, and we're going to say the margin and we're going to set it to -20 pixels, 0 and 20 pixels. So you know why we did this. This is actually top, right, left 0 and bottom 0. So I could actually comment this. I could just say top, right, and left, and then we now have bottom. So you actually know why we did that. So we're going to save it, and you see it came up. So the next thing is to style the hero paragraph. That's this. We're going to give it some, some spacing. So some letter spacings. To do that, we're going to do hero and P, and we're going to say font size. Let's increase the font size a little bit. We're going to say 150. 150. It's gonna look so big. Then we're supposed to say I don't really know, should I give it like 10 pixels? That's really small. Sorry guys. So we're gonna give it 20 pixels also. So we're gonna give it letter spacing, let's say 1 pixels. We're just trying. Okay, 1 pixels looks better. So I think we're done with this. I know this is a long video. So the next is to just style this up, and we're done with this.